Hello, and welcome to Building the World We Want. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks.
And I'm James Maynard. I'm Beth's sidekick.
And Charlie the dog just jumped off our laps. We thought he was going to be part of the show, but he decided not to. So we have a rather important topic to talk about tonight, especially now, and I'll explain why. But the name of the show is How to Bring Light to a Dark World. And I think we all know that our world is pretty dark and probably always has been. I don't know. I haven't always been here, but when I've been here, it's been pretty dark. And why am I saying how to bring light to a dark world? Well, it's because so many times we've tried to change things for the better. And then, despite all of our best intentions, something goes wrong. It's not what we hoped for. And people become jaded and or blame somebody. And I wanted to and what came to me was to talk about how to bring light to a dark world is that it's really connected to that. And if you're hearing scratching, that's the dog. Okay. I mean, for example, the Russian Revolution had great principles and was full of hope, but it led to an oppressive regime because they were so surrounded and full of fear that they were going to be overthrown. Charlie, can you see if you can get that guy to be quiet? Thanks. He's going to tear the set down and the screen is going to fall on us.
Trying to stage a revolution.
And, Cuban Revolution also, it was so much wonderful came out of it, but there was so much oppression also and trying to control people out of the fear that it was going to be overthrown. And, then what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to justify that? And so, so those are just two obvious examples in the political realm. But we have that personally too in our lives. And now, so what I want to talk about is the dark side and how we should deal with the dark side. Because a lot of people think that we should deal with the dark side by doing the same thing it does. And what do I mean by that? I mean, they're terrible, so we should be as bloodthirsty as they are. Or they're mocking and horrible, and we should mock and be horrible towards them. And I see it all the time. I see wonderful people on the internet who are doing podcasts, and very often their attitude is just demeaning to the opposition, like the opposition isn't human, which is exactly one of the problems that we're having from the administration. So Todd said, hi, Beth and James, another really good topic. Oh, thank you, Todd. Appreciate it a lot. And please feel free, whoever you are, to make a comment if you're on the public Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Granny Rocks On, or on our YouTube channel at Beth Green TV. Because if you're on my personal page, I won't see your comment until later. So, I've been thinking about this, and it is so tempting to be nasty to nasty people, isn't it? Elizabeth says, hello. Some may not understand what the dark side is. I realize that, Elizabeth, and I'm going to get to that right now. I think we all know what we mean about darkness and dark times. Cruelty, lack of compassion, child molestation, torture, exploitation, and so on. So we know what it looks like. We certainly do know what it looks like. But what is it? So I'm going to be putting forward a suggested way of looking at it. I'm not saying it's the only way. I am saying it's the way I think of it, and I think it could be helpful. And it's particularly interesting coming up at this moment when our president presented himself as Jesus and there is so much attack on the Catholic Church. And then there's the question of morality and so on. So people are thinking about things like that, and I want to throw my 2 cents in. So I call the dark side the constellation of negative energy. In other words, I'm not worrying about demons or horrible psychic phenomenon and ghosts and all that stuff, all that stuff that gets people scared. I'm talking about dark energy, about cruelty and anger and fear and so on. And what is it? And I think of it as just like if you have a checkbook and you've got some money in the bank and then suddenly you've overdrawn. Now what you've got in the checkbook is a negative number. And what is it? What is it minus $20? There is no such thing as minus $20. There's $20, there's $1, there's 1 cent, but minus $20 is the absence of $20. It's not a thing itself, it's the absence of something. And it doesn't have any substance to itself. I mean, has anybody seen a minus $20? We know what the result can be. It's like, oh, somebody's going to come after you and say, you owe me $20. So if you think about that and just take that idea, look at darkness itself. For most of us, what darkness is the absence of light. It's the absence of something that's real and palpable. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad. We need darkness in order to rest. I mean, our whole cycle is based on different seasons and times of day and all of that. There's a time for everything, a time to get up and time to go to sleep and all of that stuff. But there it is. It's the absence of light is darkness. Now we think about that. Then what does that mean? That cruelty is the absence of kindness. Irresponsibility is the absence of responsibility or accountability. Much of what we experience is an absence of connection. Loneliness is the absence of connection. It's one of the darkest places we can be is the absence of love. And so if you think about this as anger and fear and other such hatred, which we see a lot of in our society, it's based on an absence of well-being, something that people don't have that allows them to be manipulated. But the thing itself is the absence of something positive. And the problem is that it is parasitical. Do you know what I mean by a parasite? A parasite is like an insect or a creature that grabs onto you and sucks your blood, right? And anger and fear, these suck your energy, your life force. When people are living on negative emotions, negative feelings, they are losing their life force. They're going downhill and they're not regenerating. They become more and more angry and they have to find life force somewhere, just like a parasite has to find its nurturance from living off something else. So I know it's kind of a different way of looking at negativity, but think about it that way just for a second, and you could see that negativity is very parasitical. It just feeds on itself. It doesn't regenerate. It doesn't lead to anything positive. It just makes you weaker and weaker mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. It will wear you out. Being angry all the time. Yes, James?
I'd like to add, isn't there another dimension to it as well? And that is when I'm feeling anger towards somebody, aren't I also projecting a negative energy at them and impacting them?
Well, exactly. That's what we do when we're a parasite. we are hurting other people. We're
Mhm.
taking something away from them, and we're trying to recruit them into being like we are.
Mm.
But it is really, if you think about it from the perspective of it's the absence of life force, it's the absence of something, it's draining you. When you're angry, when you're resentful, I'm talking about what this actually does to us for the moment.
Mhm.
So what you're saying, of course, is true. And that's one of the characteristics that we've seen. And so we see an administration that not when they can't beat somebody on the other side, they beat up each other. You know, they're killing themselves. Now, what is the problem when we are in resistance? If we take on those characteristics and we become like them, then we are becoming the dark side ourselves. Now, there are a lot of people who consider themselves spiritual or religious, but they're actually judgmental, mean spirit, and trying to control other people. And they're trying to live off of that energy. And so look at that. There is nothing positive or spiritual about that. It's not bringing light to a situation, it's bringing darkness to darkness. And a lot of people think that is the way that you're going to defeat the dark side. You're going to go out there with your sword. Now, sometimes violence is necessary in order to accomplish something. Sometimes. Well, for example, the example that I like is if you see someone in a family, a man or woman by person molesting a child, you have to stop it, and you may have to use force to do that. You may need to bring in the police or the child protective services or whatever. And at that moment, you are using force in order to stop someone from doing something destructive to someone who can't defend themselves or can't stop them. But once that's over, if we keep going over and over and over that anger and that hatred and that disdain, what are we doing? We're actually creating the backlash to ourselves. And we're not actually healing the person. The only thing that transforms us is healing. Defeat does not transform. Now, I'm going to give you some historical examples. For example, in the US, there were in the heyday of capitalism, where there was no guardrails, they did anything they wanted. They had people working endless hours. They didn't care. People, I've actually seen people dying at their jobs in our own day, and there was nothing to stop them. And it ended up in the Great Depression because people could not maintain or sustain that. There wasn't enough money for people to buy the goods and services that they were creating. So let's take a look at that. So there was a movement to unionize, to organize, and to change the government to something that actually took care of the needs of people and the earth to some degree, at least. And so the other side was defeated. Did they go away? They're back. We're back. We're back. We came back in what, 1980 when Ronald Reagan was president?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the purpose of society is no longer to actually take care of people in the earth. It's to make money for a small class of people, the same thing that was going on before the Depression, before the New Deal. And it's not just that. I mean, it's like when Obama was elected president, we said, oh, we're really defeating racism. Well, did we?
No, not exactly.
Not exactly. That's right, James. Not exactly. And so what happens is where there wasn't transformation. We just started amassing forces against each other. Endless wars. That's human history, is endless wars. So we need to transform. And how are we going to transform? Not just by see, we need to defeat Hitler or the child molester. We need to stop them. But then we need to build up people and transform people. And that really worked to a great extent. I mean, politically, you could see that Western Europe really and Japan started reforming their societies, and they did some healing, and we supported them, and that was smart. That was really smart. But those tendencies that humans have to gravitate around hate and control and power did not go away, did they? And here we have Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, that believes that we shouldn't all vote. Only the wealthy men should vote. They're trying to take votes away from women. They certainly want to get votes away from colored people. They're so afraid that their white Christian nation is being taken over. And of course, it's wonderful to see Viktor Orban, the autocrat in Hungary, being defeated. But unless something happens that actually shifts people, he'll be back in some form. Somebody will be back. So this is such an important time for us to talk about this, because we are in a transitional moment. And that transitional moment is about people getting so angry at the darkness of the administration that they're protesting. But some of them are protesting in the same way that they got roped into supporting that administration to start with, which is appealing to their worst side. It's like, oh, it's all about me and I'm hurting. You know, it's terrible, the idea that some Americans are going to get killed in these wars. Well, I think that is terrible. But what about all those fishermen who were bombed by the United States, that there's no evidence that they were actually bringing drugs in? I mean, what about all those people? What about the Iranians? What about all the people who are dying in Lebanon because Israel is bombing them? I mean, the Jews are a very good example of this. After the Holocaust, they had the moral high ground, but they began to do the same thing. Prejudice against other people that they considered potential enemies or that are colored or whatever. And they were attacked. So why don't they just attack everybody and take over everything? It's this, you see, everywhere you look, we fight darkness with darkness. And when we do that, we become dark. And nothing ever heals. We have to bring light into darkness. That's what heals it. You walk into a dark room, turn on the light. Turn on the light doesn't mean be vicious, doesn't mean be condescending, doesn't mean you mock people on the other side. You tell the truth and you try to bring light, chi, life force, the life force that the dark side is living off of. You can't see anything more of an example of that than the person who is running our country right now, where there is no end to the need to suck on others. That is the parasite. This man is a parasite, and his cronies are parasites or cowards. And we need to stand up against it, but we need to stand up against it by bringing light, not just by protesting and being angry and mocking and attacking. And I know that a lot of people who are in the resistance are trying to do that, you know, singing and chanting and bringing love. But it takes a lot to really change the course of history, which means we need to change the way human beings react to darkness. It's like, I can't remember the name of the woman who was being abused by her husband and then she cut his penis off in the middle of the night. Bobbitt?
Bobbitt.
Bobbitt, right. I mean, really? I don't think that she ever recovered from doing that because it makes you sick. It makes us sick when we drain our energy, when we allow ourselves to be hysterical, angry, vindictive, self-righteous. Can we stand up to the abominations of our society, the abominations that take place in families? And I'm not just talking about by the government, I mean also by industry and companies, without becoming what we're opposed to. And that's the beauty of the nonviolent movements. That's what Martin Luther King was trying to bring us. That's what Gandhi was trying to bring us. Malcolm X turned into that person himself before he was assassinated. So what can we do? Well, the first thing we have to do is watch our energy. We have to see whether or not we are becoming negative and we are starting that process of losing our own life force. And you can tell when you are. Just be honest with yourself. How are you feeling when you are reading the news? Amy said, like you said in an earlier show, we need to learn how to respond with light rather than just react, such as there was an S, but it cut off, Amy. That's all we got there. Oh, maybe this will open. I don't know. No, it doesn't. Okay, well, thank you for that comment. And let me see if I can. There we go. Yes, we need to learn how to respond with light. And we have to have compassion for ourselves because brutality is raining upon us. But that doesn't give us the excuse or the reason to become like the dark side ourselves. And watch it because I see it. And I'm sure you do too. And see how you feel. Because remember, I said that negative energy is negative, it doesn't have life force. And what it means is that when you get angry, at the end of the day, you are spent. Amy said, rather than just react, such as with anger. Yes, like you said in an earlier show, we need to learn how to respond with light rather than just react, such as with anger. Right on. And that was what we talked about last week. And you're welcome to see it. It's still on Facebook from last week, and it's on YouTube, for permanently on the Building the World We Want. So, and this also feeds into our building the world we want, because the world we want is a world of light and kindness and compassion and caring for the earth and caring for people and caring for animals and using our creativity not to outdo or compete with each other, but to how to build that world that we want. But in the meantime, we are building the world we want within ourselves. And you were talking, James, about anger and putting out anger towards other people. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We become that. We're doing that, and then we are destroying ourselves in the process, and we're destroying the hope for real transformation. Because if there is no real transformation, we are destined to repeat the same patterns over and over and over and over, just looking slightly different. So for today, I can't go too much further because this is a huge topic, just a huge topic. But I wanted to put out some thoughts about a way to approach this. It's not about being a good girl or a good boy. It's not like, oh, I'm holier than thou and I'm going to rise above it and I'm out of my body and I don't feel anything and I'm just floating there. That's not what it's about. It's about recognizing that we need to transform. We need to transform. And what I like to say is send light to the darkness. That's what kills it. If you have a shadow, turn on the light. Right? That's what kills the shadow, not going after it. I mean, just think about that image. You go after your shadow with a pitchfork. And what are you going to do? Get a hole in your wall.
I'd like to share something.
Okay.
I'm reminded of a story of a Buddhist monk who was being visited by somebody who was very insulting and derogatory and abusive. And people were watching this go on for several days. And somebody then asked the monk, he keeps saying all that stuff to you. Why do you keep smiling and not getting all riled up and angry? And he says, well, just because somebody gives you a gift, does that mean you have to accept it? So he chose not to engage on that level.
Exactly. So I like to say, just like we want to turn the light on in the dark room,
Send the light.
Send chi to the dark side. Chi is life force.
That's right.
And now, I mean, if you go like this with your hands, you may find that there is energy that that's coming through your fingers. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean negative energy. I mean, not if you're angry, but just, to see if you can connect
life force
to
energy,
life force energy and send it to somebody. Let's say you have a husband or a wife or somebody or a child who's behaving really badly. Send them chi. Amy said, someone said something like, better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. Love it, Amy. That's really great. And if anyone else has a comment, please put it in, because this applies to every one of us. We need to do this in our homes. We need to do it with ourselves. We need to stop beating ourselves up. Also, talk about debilitating ourselves and weakening ourselves. The moment we start getting angry with ourselves and berating ourselves and treating ourselves badly, we are losing our valuable life force. And say, oh, I understand why you did that, Beth, or no wonder you did that, Beth, but I think it might be better if you did something else. And I'd like to suggest to you that you look for things that make you feel light and happy and peaceful inside. James and I love to play music or listen to music, but we don't listen to angry music that's, that insults women or that's full of violence. Or, sometimes you want to listen to something where self-pity. Oh my God, we all have self-pity, right? And you go there and you start listening to music that feeds your self-pity. Oh, he done me wrong. Okay, fine. I get it. He done you wrong. He done me wrong too. And I also done people wrong, as a matter of fact. But when you're trying to lift yourself, try to find music or art or laughter or games or nature that don't bring you down, that don't steal your life force. This is your life, and this is your life force that you're squandering, and you think you're winning, and you're not. So please like or love this show on Facebook, and follow us on Facebook if you're on my public page. And on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so that you can hear others of our program. And please share this program with anybody that you think it could help. That's what we're trying to do. And we also do a music program. We're going to be playing music tomorrow night. It's called Music for Our Times. I play the piano, James sings. Thank God James sings. Thank God I play the piano. What can I say? We could not, we have to do it together. And I want to thank you for the support that we get from our audience and the comments that we get even after the show is over. And we really appreciate all of that. So come tomorrow night. It's at 7 p.m. Pacific time. This show is at 6:30. That show is at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And here's some music for our times that's moving, that's gives us a lift, that brings light, bring the divine down. The divine isn't about doctrine and dogma and all of that. It's that life force. It's that connection with the universe. It's the connection with everything that we feel that flows through us. And when we feel that, we become relaxed and happy and more able to respond and build a better world today. So, with that, I think I should stop, and I hope that you come back next Wednesday night for whatever is up then. Life is changing so fast, and there are so many things going on in our society all the time. And we talk about it, but we don't always talk about it in the same way that others talk about it. We talk about us and what's going on with us and what it means for us. And if you like that, please come back and tell other people about it. So I guess we need to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for coming. And let's try to get the music on to end the show. And it usually doesn't work. And this is one of those usually.
It's working.